Hello and welcome to a very exciting edition of Santos on Sports. Along with my partner in crime, Mr. Chris Santos, I am Paul Santos. Welcome in. First of all, let us thank our sponsors, Scotty's Pub, Fall River, Citywide Glass, Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton, Lakeville Athletic Club of Lakeville, and attorney John Seed of New Bedford. Thank you very much for supporting Santos on Sports. How do you like that question? How do you like that question? Right off the bat, we're going to start trouble here. Are the Celtics going to blow it? Yes or no? I mean, I like those like yes or no questions, you know? Um, Let me just give you my 30-second take, and then I want to hear from you because I trust Chris. Chris is pretty good with these things, you know? He kind of digs in with the X's and O's and stuff like that. Okay, I like rooting for the Boston teams. I always root for the Boston teams. There's just something in my gut, Chris. I can't quite place it. I don't know if it's the it factor or the feeling I have or this queasy feeling. I think the Celtics are going to blow it. I do. I hope they don't. I don't want to see Kyrie Irving come back here and rub it in Boston's face. I do like Doncic, though. He's my favorite player in the league, so at least I have that. But there's just something about the Celtics. I don't know. They just, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. They don't seem to be clicking and gelling the same way Dallas has been clicking and gelling. And you know what? Here's the thing. I know Dallas is a 5 seed and everything, but look who they defeated. They defeated the Clippers. Okay, no joke there. Knocked off OKC, who had a great year, number 1 seed in the West. And then the Minnesota Timberwolves, who knocked out Denver. Everybody thought it was going to be, oh, here comes Edwards. He's the next Michael Jordan, blah, blah, blah. They beat him 4-1. They basically wiped the floor with him. And Doncic was rubbing it in their face. So I don't know. I got this queasy feeling about this. I don't like it. I'm not sure about matchups and stuff like that. This is only my gut feeling and eyeball test. I'm not breaking it down like I know you're going to break it down. I in my gut, I'm rooting for the Celtics, but in my gut, I don't know. I think Dallas is going to pull off the upset. What do you think?
So my first question, Paul, is from the phrase, will they blow it? So are you saying that the Celtics are an overwhelming favorite, that there's no way they should lose this, and if they do, they're the ones that are blowing it? Is that why you're using that phrase?
Well, I think it's something just to kind of stir the pot a little bit, but I know what you're asking. A lot of people are saying if Dallas does win the series, is it going to be more about Dallas playing well, or is it going to be more about the Celtics kind of gagging a little bit? I think I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think Dallas is underrated. I think people are looking at them saying, well, the number 5 seed, they were kind of mediocre. But look at their record since that trade, since they added those couple of pieces, right? Since then, they've been a different team, and they motored right through. They had a much tougher task in the Western Conference than the Celtics did. It's not the Celtics' fault. Like you always say, you got to play who's in front of you. But the teams that they beat, the way they're gelling, the way they believe, too, you and I were texting back and forth, they just have this feeling like it's all coming together. And the Celtics, hey, they're deep. Hopefully the Celtics' depth will counteract what Dallas has, but Dallas worries me for sure.
Well, I have to agree with you, and I would be worried if I'm the Celtics because, as you said, I think the West is better than the East when it comes to a conference. And Dallas has proven they can win on the road. They can take on some good teams like Oak City and Minnesota and really climb on the back of right now the best player in the NBA, and Luka Doncic. He is so talented from points, rebounds, steals, assists. The guy just does everything. And all you need, Paul, is to believe. And Dallas believes that they can win this whole thing. And when you have someone that can carry you, as Luka has done in the 3 series, I can't see why you don't believe. And so for Irving and Lively and Washington and those guys, they may not be like all these great, name players, except for Irving, but they can come in and contribute and know that they have, Doncic's back and say, hey, we're here for you. We can do our part as role players and help and still get where we are. And they've done it in 3 good series. Now, that being said, the Celtics in the East, has it been as competitive for them? I don't think so. Have I seen games where they get away from it in one quarter? Yes, we have. Has there been the it factor at the end of the games and they haven't produced? Yes, it has. But this team does have the depth and quality that you talked about. Now, this doesn't mean this is a super team. There's been super teams, Garnett, Pierce, and Allen, from LeBron to Dwayne Wade and Bosh. Those are super teams. This is super good players. This is good players. And it's obviously Tatum and Brown. And then you add in all-stars of Porzingis, all-stars of Horford, all-stars of Holiday. These guys are all-star players from other teams. Give Brad Stevens credit getting these guys together and what Derek White can put on his back as well to need to help out. This has been a tremendous season. I just don't know if the Celtics are quality basketball ready for this matchup. If they pull this off, I think it's going to go all the way to 7 games. That's the way I'm feeling. But if I got to go 7, and I'm a Celtics guy, here it is. Celtics right here. I'm all rooting for them. But I got a funny feeling that this team in Dallas believes behind the best player in the NBA right now. And I think he can push them over the edge because he makes it when it counts. And he's done it all year. And he could do that again. So, I mean, I want the Celtics, don't get me wrong. If I'm looking money-wise, I wouldn't mind taking the underdog, getting some money, maybe Dallas in 7, and sneak it out. So,
wow, I'm surprised. I thought for sure.
I'm rooting for the Celtics, but
yes.
I don't like the quality of basketball in all of these playoffs. I'm hoping that it can shine and show up for one big series. I just don't know if they have it.
I'm surprised. I thought for sure as we were leading up to the show that Chris was going to predict the Celtics and I was going to be kind of like the outlier predicting Dallas. But as we moved along, like earlier in the week, it seemed like everybody was on the Celtics side and, Vegas is on the Celtics side. But as the week has gone on, it seems like more people are kind of coming around to, something, this might be just that magical year where everything just comes together for Dallas. And when you believe, I remember when Tom Brady played for Tampa Bay, and there were a lot of players there that never won before, and they're all in the locker room and they're looking across and they see Tom Brady getting dressed. And it's like, oh man, even when the Patriots were way behind in that Super Bowl, there was just that feeling that, hey, this guy's in my room. This guy makes the clutch shot. This guy can put us on his back, there's just that feeling, and I think that's what you're talking about. So let's see. We've got Colette Gagne Waring that says, no, the Celtics will not blow it.
Yep.
Steve Lewin says Celtics in 6.
Yep.
Jose Enrique Torres says they better win tonight. They need to win tonight. I think that's true. The first game seems to be really important in this one. Celtics in 6, says Stephen Long. Jose Enrique Torres, they're going to win, looks like 4-1. So we have a Celtics runaway here so far in the comment line. Well, I want to hear what you have to say over the phone. So please give us a call. You see the number there, 774-218-3393. Note the different number. We've been using this number for a little while now, 774-218-3393. So, Chris, what do you think it comes down to? Because a lot of people have been talking about, Porzingis, right? Is he really healthy? I saw him at the podium, looked a little shaky. You got the Porzingis factor. And number 2, will the Celtics fans, when Kyrie Irving comes in, we all know the story about how bad it was when Kyrie left here. Could the Boston fans get on him and throw him off his game? Or do you think he's so focused now that he's going to come into Boston and play just as well as he has been all along?
Well, he's got the attitude that, he'll thrive off of what the Celtics have to think about him. That will try to influence him to be even better than what he has shown in this playoffs. But he has been quiet to this point most of the times in the series because he's letting Luka do all the work, where even during the year, 37 points in one game, 33 in the other game, and yet the Celtics still won by 20, I believe it was, or even more than that. And the other one, they won by 9 or 10. So you're already thinking in your head, well, hey, we'll give Luka whatever he wants and let him dominate and have his way, and we'll stop everybody else and shut them down. So that's a philosophy going in where, we can't stop them. We can only hope to contain them. Maybe they'll look at that way and get on Doncic the best they can. And maybe I would be surprised if they mix it up too. Maybe Brown on him, then maybe Tatum on him, then maybe, White on him, and then Holiday on him. I don't know if they can do a one-on-one matchup. Maybe they get fresh legs and get new guys on them all the time. So really curious to see how the coaching staff of Missoula get together and figure out how to slow and who's covering man-to-man on Doncic.
It's so fascinating because, the Celtics do have a great defense when they want to hustle and play defense. But you look at Doncic, right? And it's like, okay, maybe he hasn't faced a team like the Celtics. That's probably true. But look at the teams that he beat. A lot of teams tried to cover him. Gobert tried to cover him. A lot of teams tried to cover him. And he went
Towns.
out there and did it. Edwards is the different situation, but, Edwards got a little cocky, I think. And I like Edwards. I think he's exciting for the league. I think he got a little too big for his britches there. And, he got a little cocky, and I think that kind of bit him when he went against Dallas. But it's going to be really fascinating. One more comment. Leonard Montenegro, 7 games for sure. Coin flip on the winner. Okay, I think that's probably true. I think it does. It is kind of fascinating to see how it's going to go, and I don't think any of us will be surprised how it goes. Okay, 774-218-3393. I'll try to put you on hold if you call when somebody's on the line, but I only have one. So if you want to wait until there's an opening, go ahead. But we're going to start with one of our top fans. We say good evening to Ryan from Rochester.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going
Ryan,
great. We're excited.
So am I. Yeah, I'm excited, but also nervous at the same time. So, to answer the question, as much as I want to say no, because it's nice that they cruise to the playoffs to this point. Like you mentioned, Brad Stevens has put together an excellent team here with the depth of Holiday, with Porzingis in the mix. Fingers crossed that he's at least 80% tonight. But it's like me as a Cowboys fan, and Chris will know this. I'm just conditioned based off the results of the past couple of years. I'm conditioned to think that somewhere down the stretch, whether it's I don't think they're going to get swept, obviously, but if it comes down to 6 or 7 games, they're just going to find a way to choke it down the stretch, because it's not just the fact that not just that. I just felt like there's just been lapses throughout this entire playoff run. Sure, they've only lost 2 games in the playoffs total, but there's been plenty of times where it just looks like, especially at home, where it looks like they've fallen asleep a little bit, and they sometimes feel like that they can just cruise on by. For example, I hate to be this negative Nelly, but that still felt like the fakest sweep of all time against the Pacers, because Game 2, I think it was Game 1 felt like we had no business of winning at home there. That last one, we had no business of winning either, because it goes back to how much I hate this live and die by the 3 philosophy. I know that the league is tailored towards 3-point shooters nowadays, but Derek White especially, he wasn't hitting those transition threes all night, and he just kept on hucking it up and hucking it up and hucking it up until obviously, luckily at the very end, he hit one towards the end that kind of helped seal the deal. But at the same time, if you get into a shootout with this team with these 2 closers, I think it's going to spell trouble. And I've texted you guys about this before too. I feel like their bigs are a little underrated, and I think if Porzingis isn't I don't think he's going to be fully healthy, but if he's not at least 80%, that could be a problem, because Derek Lively has been good as a rookie. They traded for Daniel Gafford. He's a physical guy. He kind of reminds me a little bit of how do I put this? A slightly less athletic Rob Williams. I don't think he's quite as athletic in the fact that he can jump out of the gym like Rob did.
All right,
but
so
I feel like he has a similar impact.
So to answer the question, you say yes? You think they're
I think they're going to. I hope that doesn't happen, but I think it will.
Oh, 3 for 3, Chris.
Yeah, you know what? Just speaking with Ryan in the last couple of weeks, I think he's sensing what I had said, where the Celtics have not played a series where it's been complete dominance. They've given up quarters where they're just lackluster. Sometimes it looks like they don't even play defense. There's other times that, again, Ryan says all they do is shoot threes. They've had lucky, as Paul has mentioned before, Donovan Mitchell banged up, Halliburton banged up, guys injured from stars from other teams. Obviously that's part of the game and we get it. But even when that's happened, they've kept teams hanging around, and you definitely do not want to have Dallas hanging around. So I'm not really surprised by Ryan's opinion. I agree with what he's saying. I just think the West is more dominant than the East, and they believe, and they're going, and Luka's going to do what he can to carry this team on his back and get them to where they want to be, and that's a championship. So it's going to be very difficult I'm rooting for the Celtics, but I think Dallas can pull this off.
Is it possible, right? Is it possible? Because you've said you can't really pick who's in front of you. So it's not
Yep.
their fault that
Yep.
Halliburton got hurt and that Jimmy
Yep.
Buckets didn't play and all that.
Yep.
Okay. So now you're playing in a series and kind of in the back of your mind, you're up 3-0, you're up 3-1. Human nature is what it is. So then all of a sudden it's like, well, maybe I'll just take the ball myself and do a little ISO ball here, right? So, it's impossible for teams to flip the switch unless you've won 2 or 3 championships already and you're like that team, that it team that can flip the switch, right? I'm not saying the Celtics can flip the switch. They haven't proven that they could do that. But is there a possibility that now against Dallas, everybody kind of gets together and you get a Holiday there and it was one before, and you got Derek White who can go off on any particular night, and Jaylen Brown who's got that killer instinct, right? Could they just say, hey, you know what? We just can't do that here. We got to go after the jugular and finish these guys off. Let's all go, and here we go. And all of a sudden, they just don't have those lapses.
Well, that's why the open is really big, Ryan. I think the opening game sets the tone. And if Dallas hangs around and is in it at the end, this just sits well with them, because now they sit back and say, well, if we can do this in this game, we're going to be able to do it in 2, 3, and 4. And we got the guy that can really put us over when we really need it. So that's why I think the opening game's pretty big. I think it's a 6-point favorite right now on the Celtics in the opener. But if Dallas is in the lead in this one in the third, it's going to be interesting, because again, they're going to believe and have that feeling that, hey, we're right with this team who's supposed to be better than us, because they're a heavy favorite, and knock us off.
I 100% agree with that. And when it comes to setting the tone, I'm not saying I want the Celtics to stomp them out or anything. I doubt that's going to happen. But I think I think especially on the defensive side, you've got to set the tone a little bit. Okay, we're not going to get into these big shootouts with you. We're gonna get some stops on you guys every once in a while. Holiday is going to guard either Derek White or Drew Holiday is going to guard Kyrie really well. Tatum's going to use his size to guard Luka Doncic. He'll get his occasionally, but he's not going to go off 40 points a game or what have you. And make sure Porzingis is a presence in the paint. There's a lot of areas like that where they just need to set the tone and just not say okay, we're not just gonna fall asleep and just say we'll make it up the next game. 100% energy and effort every single game. Set the tone in that fashion.
By the way, wasn't it really kind of surprising a little bit the way the Dallas-Minnesota series went? I mean, Edwards looked like he was going to be the new big thing. I know he's young, so he kind of has to earn his stripes a little bit, pay his dues, maybe learn how to win, maybe get a little ahead of himself. But 4-1 against Minnesota after they disposed of Denver, I don't know. That was kind of a surprise. What about you? Did you think it was a surprise, Ryan?
Not only was it a surprise, it was a massive disappointment, because not just like I had said before, roster wise, they were not only a better club, but it's one thing if you're going up against a 2 out of 3 year straight MVP, right? Because Jokic is going to be Jokic, right? But you think that they would match up defensively against Dallas very well, because of course Kyrie and Luka, the two of the best players in all of basketball right now. But it just felt like they were lackadaisical, didn't show much effort, or they were just straight up getting torched on the defensive side. It just didn't feel like they had any sort of answers throughout that entire series. If they ended up losing in 6 or 7, that's one thing. But a gentleman's sweep, pretty much, yeah, absolute disappointment and a surprise.
So that was impressive, right, Chris, that Dallas was able to dispose of Minnesota in the fashion that they did. And is that really why we're thinking, maybe they can do that to the Celtics too?
Well, as I said, the West is just a little bit better than the East right now. And, when Minnesota beat Denver, I think Dallas sat there and licked their chops and said, wow, this is great, for us. Now we're going to play a young team who could have been tired, beaten up, from that matchup with Denver. At the same time, worn down, haven't been really in a Western Conference Finals. And so the experience maybe a little bit more with Irvin and Doncic showing up and the veteran leadership and all that kind of stuff, compared to, Townsend and Edwards, who are young and trying to get there. So it kind of favored them a little bit going into it. And they went in there and did what they needed to do. That's why I think it's important that the Celtics show home court presence tonight and come out steaming, and not let Dallas hang around. So Dallas goes away going, ooh, we lost this game pretty good. While we need to really make some big changes in game 2. So that's what I'm hoping, to see out of that. But I just don't see it happening.
Going to be a lot of fun, that's for sure. Ryan, thank you so much for calling, and hopefully we'll be on next week to talk about the first couple games.
No problem. Thanks for having me on again, guys.
All right, Ryan from Rochester, one of our favorites, and you can jump in now. This is a good time in between callers at 774.
Hey, Ryan, I wanted one more question for you. You like Edmonton or the Panthers?
Oh, he's gone already, but maybe you can type it in.
He can type that in for me, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be
curious
interesting
to see
too.
who he likes in the NHL.
Yeah, I got thoughts on that.
Yep.
774-218-3393 if you want to jump in on the Celtics question. I'm looking at the best player in the league, McDavid. So exciting, so fun to watch and everything else. But the Florida Panthers, they are built for the playoffs. And I see them doing what they did to the Bruins, to some of these other teams. They almost pulled it off last year. The Bruins losing to them was not a choke because that team is nasty. They got that grit. They got that thing. I think Florida's going to win it.
Well, if you're asking for my opinion, I believe that Florida is the better team because of defensively.
Right.
And I think defense beats offense in the NHL playoffs.
Absolutely.
They got the better of the goaltending. They got the better of the defense. I would think that the high-flying Oilers obviously can produce more in the offense, but I think Florida will find a way to shut them down. I think McDavid and Draisaitl will have something, but I don't think it will be enough, and Florida takes it.
And I think the Florida goaltender seems to be playing better than what Edmonton has, too, which is always a factor in these things, But you're right. In hockey particularly, they say defense wins championships. I think particularly in hockey, and that's the problem with the Bruins the last couple of years. I mean, I know if Montgomery is just an offensive guy, it's great during the regular season, but the game is different in the playoffs. And you got to do that Claude Julien kind of, everybody's back checking, everybody's doing this and that. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think this whole offensive style is fun during the regular season, but it doesn't work in the playoffs.
Well, it's not like the Bruins are getting blown out. So I don't think they've played bad defensively. I just think they need secondary scoring. You just can't rely on Pastrnak, and that's it. You know what I mean? You got to have other guys. So even like McDavid with Draisaitl, but then Hyman scores, then Bouchard comes in from the point, and Kane comes in. And you just got a lot of different players, that can help. The Bruins just relied on, unfortunately, Pastrnak and maybe Marchand. Nothing from the defense. McAvoy, not enough production on the offense, as well as the secondary guys, Charlie Coyle and Zacher and all that. There's just not enough there, in my opinion, to get them over the hump against some of these teams. Now, when you look at Florida, Reinhart, very good. Kachuk, obviously. Bennett, obviously. Forslund on the point over there. Great plus and minus guy. So they have a lot going for them. And Bobrovsky has gotten better and better in goal as every series has gone on. He looked outstanding against the Rangers.
All right, well, give us a call. Your thoughts on the NHL or the NBA. We are focusing mostly on the Celtics, but we wanted to get our NHL thoughts in there too. Do you think the Celtics are going to blow it? Now, again, that was kind of a wise guy way of asking the question, but, we're trying to stir the pot a little bit here, interesting podcast. 774-218-3393. Detroit Dela Cruz is the last person to comment in, and she says, yes, they are going to blow it. So let's break it down a little bit. Okay, Tatum and Brown, right? There seems to be a little rumbling there that, they get along, they're friendly, this and that, but they don't have this sort of clicking thing that some players have. You know what I mean? I got to tell you, I'm just looking at it from a human point of view, not from an X's and O's point of view. It does seem like to me, and I've always said this before, I've been telling you this the last couple of years, I don't think Tatum really likes it when Brown carries the team. You know what I mean? I think he wants to be that guy. Now, again, these guys are highly competitive. They're the best players in the world. They want to be the alpha dog and all that. I understand that. But, you want to win the championship too. I don't think he likes it when Brown is outscoring him or doing stuff better than him or hitting that clutch shot. And sometimes Tatum is trying to force it because he wants to be the guy. And I just think that's all nonsense. And I got to tell you, when Kyrie Irving first went to Dallas, and I'm a big Doncic fan, I thought to myself, what in the world are they doing bringing this guy in there? He came into Boston, screwed that all up. He then went to Brooklyn, screwed that all up. Now they're going to Dallas. I'm like, oh, God, he's never going to gel with Doncic. Well, for some reason, he's gone in there, and he doesn't care if Doncic gets all the credit or whatever. You know what I mean? They seem to not really care who gets more points and stuff like that. So I don't know. Is that part of it? Do you see like some kind of jealousy or something going on? Because I do. I look at facial expressions and stuff like that, and I just get that feeling. I don't know. Usually when I get a feeling, most of the time there's something to it.
Well, the feeling that you're thinking about, and even I'm thinking about now, is when the great ones work together to win a championship. How many times have we seen this year Tatum to Brown, it's good. Brown to Tatum, it's good. As like Bird to McHale, or, Worthy to Magic, or him to Kareem, or two-man, low-man game, high pick and roll, Tatum and Brown working together. I don't even see that. Well, maybe I have, but not as much as I've seen other great tandems work together and try to generate an offense on the Celtics teams or other great teams. And so I would love to see more of that to show that, yeah, we really like each other. Look what we're doing on the floor. Am I wrong there, Paul? Do you see the same thing?
Yeah, I see the same thing. How many times, and I don't know if they'll do this in the finals, like maybe they'll say to themselves, hey, we just got to get this championship. We'll worry about who gets the MVP and who makes the great shot and all that later. Maybe they'll come through like that. But I got to tell you, if it's a close game and we're down by 1 or 2 and there's 10 seconds left, is Tatum just going to dribble the ball up like he usually does and go with the fadeaway? And Brown standing over here and White's over there. And I mean, there's so much more that he can do in that situation. You know what I mean? We got to win the game. Forget about who gets the shot. But they got to make that. They just have that ego. You know what I mean? Like I got to be the guy that makes that shot. And more often than not, during the regular season, I used to text you, here comes another clank. Now, sooner or later, the ball's going to go in. So maybe it'll go in tonight. But
yeah, I'm
I mean,
sure.
They do. He does it all the time. He does the ISO ball thing at the end all the time. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, and I don't think that's Tatum going to Missoula and say, this is what I want to do. Give me the ball, and this is how I'm going to do it. I mean, to me, that's where coaching comes in. You have to step up. You have to step in and say, okay, Tatum, okay, Brown, okay, 5 guys. This is how it works. We're going to find the open man because all of you are all-star players who can make a game-winning shot. And that's why we have you on this team. So let's run this play. Let's find the open man and get it done. So I still think it comes down to coaching when it comes to that particular situation. And I hope they resolved it from, what we've seen a little bit from last year and the year before, that they've gotten better. They've gotten more experience with it and a little bit more veteran leadership. But I would love to see those two guys feed off of each other instead of one doing their thing and then the other guy's out. Well, then he sits down. Then the other guy comes in. He does his thing. I'd like to see them really, really work together, pick and roll, just do a lot of good things that we see in the NBA and say, wow, this Brown and Tatum tandem is unstoppable. That's what I'd like to hear.
Well, here's the thing, right? Today's NBA, today's professional sports in general, different than days gone by. You don't have like Vince Lombardi, laying into the star player. A lot of people will say that the star players are really calling the shots. Look what happened with LeBron.
Yeah.
The coach is just there, but the star player is calling the shots.
Mm-hmm.
So does Missoula have the backbone by which he's going to go in there and say, hey, Tatum, you could be coming up and doing a ice ball thing and clanking the last shot the last 5 times in a row. We got to do a play here. You know what I mean? Like, does he have the backbone to do that? Or is he just saying, hey, okay, you're the best player. You decide what to do. Here's the ball. Let's go. I mean, I think that the player might be just saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. And now the question is the coach have the strength or the backbone or whatever to step in and say, hey, that's not what we're doing?
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. It's tough to really say unless you talk to them guys. But, you look at the play that they went, double pick on the right, double pick on the left, and Brown was the one that happened to get open. But they found the open man that was better open, and he took the shot and he hit it. So, they at least attempted to run a play there, and I hope they continue to do that situation and get more people involved and find an open man or take it to the basket or whatever it is. And it would be a little bit more easier than obviously the opposite way. So hopefully, the coaching staff realizes that they make, in-game decisions and they do it right now. We've seen TNT and some of these, great groups come in and say, okay, let's see what Missoula has to say. And the way he speaks to them and talks to them, it looks like he's got control of the team, Paul. So I'm hoping that he does.
we've talked about it before too. There are times where we've seen Tatum in the fourth quarter say, you know what? I'm not going to horse around with this step back three. I'm going to drive to the basket. And I got to tell you, when Tatum drives to the basket, he's nasty. He's tough to stop. I mean, sometimes he coughs up the ball. He turns the ball over. You're dribbling through traffic against really good defensive NBA players. But I don't know. It seems like he's more effective when he says, I'm going to the basket. And then he has the opportunity, because he always gets double teamed. Somebody frees up. And, I think D. White, Drew Holiday, like Drew Holiday could have easily won the MVP of the Eastern Conference Final. I mean, he stole the ball at the end. He made a big shot at one point there. He brings that sort of veteran feel. I've won it before kind of thing. He doesn't seem like he's ego driven, So I like Drew Holiday on the team. And, I also like D. White. D. White is certainly capable of going off. And so those next two guys after Tatum and Brown, how important are they, Chris?
Oh, they're huge because, it's secondary scoring. But then there are times that, again, they're all-stars and they could be the leading scorer. So, you're relying on them because they're that good. And it just takes it to another step and level when, let's hope he stays for the entire series, is obviously Porzingis, that he now represents a problem in the paint, which now then he can kick out if he needs to, or you can take somebody away and bring him out and have him pop three, then make it easier for Tatum and Brown to get underneath while a bigger guy is out having to cover Porzingis. So it helps in that situation that he is, capable of doing all these things along with them two that you said, besides Tatum and Brown. And that's why this group is such an elite group of good players. They're just an elite group of 5 to 6 good overall guys who are all-star players.
Right. That's the big advantage for the Celtics. Like let's say Tatum and Brown play okay. They're going to play okay. They're going to get at least 20, 25 points. You know what I mean? I mean, they're going to have good games. They may miss some shots here and there, but, suppose White's hot. Suppose Holiday's hot. Suppose Porzingis can come in there and, he's not laboring with the calf. And I'm a little concerned about that. I don't know. That's a very serious injury. Sometimes it leads right into the Achilles. It's a similar injury that other players have had before. I'm a little worried. I saw him sitting at the podium there, and I don't know if he seems like he's 100%. I mean, if he goes out there and he breaks down again, that's going to be important. That's an interesting question. I know a lot of the pundits were saying, well, if Porzingis is not in there, advantage Dallas. How important is Porzingis? I mean, can the Celtics beat Dallas without Porzingis, do you think?
How important is Horford should be the question.
Right.
Because that's the one that's going to take Porzingis' place, as we've seen already. And so, again, an aging Horford, but another all-star in his time, when he was playing with his other teams. And so the same with Porzingis, being an all-star. Those guys are so good at realizing what they can and can't do as they continue to get older. And I think Horford has realized, I know what my boundaries are. I know what my strengths are. I know what my weaknesses are. And they do it well. And so if Mazzulla can find a way to limit Paul. Now, remember, we got a limit here. Porzingis in for a little bit of time. Let's not overdo it. We can take him out, then put Horford in. Let him play for a stretch. Hey, Porzingis, how you feeling? Okay, yeah, all right, we're going to put you back in now. And, and you don't overwork it right away. I think that will help. So an in-game, situation for Mazzulla and his coaching staff to keep tabs on Porzingis to see how really healthy he is, how to use him, and how to use Horford at the same time.
All right, give us a call here, 774-218-3393. We want to know what you think. We want to know if you think the Celtics are going to blow it, or if they're going to lose. What's going to happen? Let's go to Nelson from Fall River. Good evening.
Hello, what's going on?
What's happening?
What's up, Nelson?
How's everyone doing today?
We're doing good. I want to know what you think. Are the Celtics going to blow the series against Dallas? Yes or no?
Hell yes.
How did I know that was coming? I knew that was coming.
Listen, when Kyrie stepped on the logo when he was with Brooklyn, it was the best thing I ever seen in my life.
Oh,
Wow.
Wow.
However, I will say this, though. I think Kyrie, even though it was good comedy, I think I've heard Kyrie hasn't been doing so good ever since he did that.
Not
So,
against the Celtics. No,
against 0-10 or something. But he's hasn't been doing too well. So hopefully, with this new team, he'll win another championship and win one without LeBron James.
So do you think that the Celtics are lacking something? There's something missing? There's like an it factor or some kind of click that's not happening like it is with Dallas?
Well, here's one thing. Luka is not afraid to go to the basket, take control of the game. Kyrie, same thing. They have that killer instinct. For Tatum, he has the drive and the passion for the game. Obviously, he puts a lot of work into it. However, he's got to show that killer instinct like Kobe
Right.
showed plenty of times. I mean, Kobe shot free throws when his Achilles was torn at one particular time. So, hey, you got to win, but you get that's what wins it in the closing minutes, closing seconds.
All right, let's see what.
Now, so I apologize for that.
All right, let's see what Chris thinks about your comments.
So, Nelson, first I want to talk about playing the Pacers. I was hoping to play the Knicks. What happened in that series where the Knicks could not come through? And I know you were dying for the Knicks. You wanted that New York-Boston matchup. I know you did, but it didn't go the way, and Brunson got hurt, and I get all that. But that being said, you saw how the Celtics handled the Pacers, obviously better than what the Knicks did. Can you see that this team is a team of 6 really, really good, solid players? And that's what will carry them to this championship more than just one in Doncic and a sidekick in Kyrie Irving.
I agree with you. No, the Celtics, they have a good team, but you have to execute.
Yep.
You know, this is for all the marbles.
Yep.
And again, there's going to come a point in time where someone's going to have to really take the reins. When people can go cold in this series. Everything changes from one game to the next.
Sure.
And Tatum's got to show that killer instinct, which I believe he will do it. But I don't know, man. I just think Kyrie and the Mavs. I'm picking Mavs in 6.
All right, Nelson. Hey, thank you very much. We always enjoy hearing from you. Have a great
have a
night.
great day,
Enjoy
guys.
the game.
Yeah, Nelson.
Thank you. You too.
All right, so we got another one that's worried about Tatum. You know, Tatum, I got to tell you, I'm critical of him too. You and I go back and forth and stuff like that, but he's a talented player. He's a big, he's strong, he's fast, he's athletic. I mean, he has so much going for him. If he could just like get a little edge to his game, you know, just a little edge to the game. I mean, he could theoretically like win a couple of games, you know, like he did. We've seen him do it before, but there just seems to be like that little edge that's missing. Is it a fair criticism that people are saying about Tatum not having that killer instinct?
This is simple. If he's made a couple of clutch shots at the end of a game, you'd be sitting here right now saying Jason Tatum is the best player in the NBA. There's no doubt in my mind, because we've talked about this. You talked about his points, his rebounds, his assists, how he's led this team, how he's done this, done that, how much he's improved as his years growing up, his leadership, the whole thing. The only thing he hasn't done in your eyes is hit the ball down the stretch and have that, as you say, the it factor. If he's made a couple of shots, right now you would say Luka who? That's what you would be saying right now, because you'd say, oh, well, it's all Tatum. And right now, obviously, he has not done it the way he has this year. He's done it in the past.
Right.
He has not done it quality over the last year or so. So yes, he definitely needs to improve in that area. And I think that comes with obviously coaching and running more plays than trying to do it that way.
Chris and I have had a lot of fun because Tatum would have these great games, and then Chris would go, crickets over there, crickets, you know. Then he go 35, 10, and 10 or something. He got like a triple double, you know,
all the time.
And how come I'm not hearing anything from Santos? Crickets, you know. Okay, so then the next game it'd be like, okay, he's doing good. All of a sudden he gets to the fourth quarter, clank, misses the last shot. All of a sudden he knows you might as well shut the phone off. You know it's coming, right? All of a sudden there's another clank, you know.
But still 35, 10, and 10.
Yeah. So is
to
it
get him
fair?
To that spot, you know,
right?
You got to get him.
He gets you right to the end. So, you know, like, is it unfair to say, look, you put up all those great numbers all the game, but then when it comes to that big moment, that big spotlight moment, that big poppy moment, that Tom Brady moment where you got to make that play, he never seems to make it. To me, I don't know. It can change. It can change tonight, but I haven't seen it yet.
Not enough to sit back and say, this is who you want with the ball at the end of the game. And there's certain guys in the NBA, I want the ball in their hands at the end of the game. I know that's what he wants to be. I know that's what Brown wants to be. And that's what the great ones like, to sit back and say, I want it in my hands. I got this. But sometimes you have to sit back and say, hey, it's just not falling this year. I'll keep working on it and I'll get better at it, next year or whatever it is in the offseason, and try to find a ways to improve my game. So we'll see how that all comes down. And hopefully they don't even have to go to those kind of games where it comes down to 5 or 10 seconds and you win without that. But, those games happen, and hopefully they're ready for it down the stretch.
Doesn't it feel like this particular finals just has so much to talk about, so much to watch, so enjoyable, like I'm just thinking some people are hoping for, Denver or something like that, or a different matchup. But I got to tell you, right, Boston against Dallas this particular year, with the whole thing with Kyrie, the way he left Boston stomping on the logo and all that, right? You got Luka Doncic right now. In my mind, I agree with you, the best player in the league. Now we'll have to see what happens in the finals. I mean, he can't do it alone. You got Jason Tatum, who was like, hey, this is your time. This is your time. Like, Herb Brooks said, this is your time. Jaylen Brown got the killer instinct. You got White and Holiday out there. Porzingis back. Now, Mavericks, they make that trade. They got Washington, a couple of the guys, Gafford's in there. They got some good supporting players too, and they believe. So I'm looking at the court, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, when they tap that ball off, what talent there is on that court. I mean, that happens a lot anyway, but I'm just looking around that court, and I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. This is so interesting. This is so fascinating. How is it going to play out? Is Luka going to put that team on his back and have everybody believe what we've been talking about? Or are the Celtics finally going to get over the hump?
I look at it as how you got there. And I just think it's been really difficult on that side for Dallas to get there. And they've proven so much by who they've beaten and how they've done it. So I'm looking at the quality of basketball more in their favor than, unfortunately, in the Celtics' favor. And that's what really has put me over the edge with this team, that, they're here for the long haul, and they can sneak this one out as a big underdog and pull the upset off.
All right. I see Craig commenting here.
Yes.
Just got out of my bubble. That means he was going to join our show. He told me earlier today that he was going to join the show about halfway through.
Okay.
So he's saying the Celtics in 5. Well, that's a bold prediction by Craig. If you want to call up and mix it up with us a little bit, I want to know why you think the Celtics in 5. Wow. 774-218-3393. Pretty confident that Celtics could win.
And then Ryan came in. He said he's still stunned that the Oilers got past the Stars the way we did. I didn't think they were capable of defending like that. Hopefully McDavid gets his first cup, but that forecheck of the Panthers might be too much. So I think he's kind of looking at it from my point, that there's some really high quality offense on that Edmonton team, but defense usually wins championships. And that's what the goaltending and that forecheck and that quality of play that the Panthers give. So Ryan was kind of, I think, seeing it my way.
Yeah, I agree too. It looks like we're all on the same page here tonight. You, me, Ryan from Rochester, we're all worried about the Celtics, and we all think that Florida is just, I don't know, they're nasty, they're gritty, they grind it out. Those are the teams that tend to win the cup when everything's on the line. So we'll see. The goaltending, defense, that whole thing, the grind it out and the dirty areas and all that. I think definitely that Florida has it over Edmonton in this particular case. But it is fun to watch McDavid. I mean, he is unbelievable, isn't he?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. His speed is so outstanding. It's amazing from blue line to watch him, go through that zone and then into the offensive zone. It's really something special. Okay, we got Craig on the line, I believe, from New Bedford. Good evening.
Craig. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Celtics in 5. Wow.
Yep. They beat them both times they played them this year, right?
That's correct.
If I remember correctly.
Yes.
So
they did.
They're going to beat them in 5.
Well, the first time they didn't have some of the players that they have now, but the second time they did. They did have the players that they have now.
and with the Kyrie stopping unlucky, it's time. Right? The Celtics are gonna beat them in 5. We're gonna lose game 3, and then they want to go back to home. So we gotta lose the game, right, to go back home. So.
All right, so you're talking about stepping on lucky and all that. Is there a particular reason why you think the Celtics are going to win? Is it their depth? What do you think about Doncic? How are they going to stop Doncic?
Honestly, I think their bench. Honestly, doesn't matter who they bring it off the bench. They seem to perform. White out of nowhere will shoot 6 threes in a half. That'll jump them, right? They have an all around talent and they play together.
Mm-hmm.
I know out there's that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. There's no beef here. They're both focusing and they wanna win. And then you got Al Horford. Come on, he just deserves to win the championship.
I'd love to see him win. Yeah.
Let's give that little extra fact, right? Al Horford, he needs to win one. So this year's the year for him.
You still going around with that camera there, Craig?
No, I haven't had time. I injured myself a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And then got off injury and then back and injured myself again. It hasn't been good in injuries as of late, unfortunately. Luckily, I don't play for the Celtics. So.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for calling. We appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Well, hopefully, if the Celtics win, maybe he'll call back and he'll say, "Oh, see, you guys didn't have confidence. You gave up on your team. Hey, this is just our gut feeling."
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm rooting for him, but like I said, I'm looking at it from that way. But Paul, let me ask you a question. Does a rusty Porzingis hurt the Celtics, or can he find a way to get his groove back to help the Celtics?
Well, I got to tell you, to be honest with you, I don't know how to answer that question because I can see both things happening. I can see him coming in well rested. He took those last series off like he should. People were saying, "Hey, don't bring him back until the finals because we don't need him to beat these other teams," and that's true. But I got to tell you, I saw him up in that podium, and they were asking about his injury, and he's like, I'm feeling all right. I don't know. I got a creepy feeling that, he's going to go out there tonight or tomorrow, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's it. He's done for the rest of the playoffs. He's just so fragile, And I think when he first came to the Celtics, we heard a lot about it in the fall, like, hey, he's a great fit. We saw them win some games with him. He seemed to click with Brown. Him and Brown were passing the ball back and forth. Tatum was finding him down low, inside, outside, and all that. But there was always that concern that he can't stay healthy. And, of course, what happened? A lot of the predictions came through. He ended up not being there for the playoffs. It's a good thing the Celtics didn't play teams that were fully loaded because then they would have really missed him.
Craig must have sent them an email because, according to Craig, it's like riding a bike. He's rested and ready to go. So I guess Porzingis reached out to Craig and said, "Don't worry, guy, I got your back. I'm ready. We're going to win in 5." So Craig made his prediction and winning in 5.
Well, I hope so because I like Porzingis. I like the way he carries himself. I like the way he speaks. Yeah, I think he's kind of a classy guy. And, it is true. Wouldn't it be nice to see Horford hold up that trophy, either in Boston or in Dallas, wherever, it doesn't really matter. How about Pritchard? Pritchard really got better as the season went along. And, he really – I got to say something about Pritchard. At first they weren't using him. Last year, new coach came in and he was like buried. I'm like, what happened to Pritchard? But this year he's been like an interesting kind of a guy that he can come out and if you don't cover him, he can really start banging those threes, and that could be important. The bench,
and he's sneaky fast too. So you don't think he's there. Next thing you know, he grabs a rebound and you're like, where did he come from? And so he uses his speed as well as starting and stopping. And he'll go from one side of the gym to the other side in record time, so he can fly as well. So it's a spot plug. It's another guy off the bench that can entertain, lift his team up, and do some things that I think the Celtics use the energy off of to say, hey, this guy's really into it. Let's get into it also. So you got to like the intensity.
What about his strength? You look at some of these guys. Hey, when you're over 7 feet tall, it's hard to be bulky and it's hard to be a wide body at the same time that you're 7 feet tall. Okay. But you look at say Luka, right? I didn't even realize he was 6'7". He doesn't look like he's 6'7" because he's so doughy and he goes up and down the court there. And I'm like, wow, this guy's 6'7" and he can rebound with the best of them. Right. So you put Porzingis down there against guys that can bang it around a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't know. He almost looks like a stick figure going up and down the court, So his fragileness really worries me. I mean, he goes down there. This is a situation where two teams that really want to win this thing. So there's going to be a lot of banging bodies down there, and I don't know if he can stand up to it.
Well, that will be a big test, obviously, to see his presence in that situation. Because, Doncic, he'll start up top, but the next thing you know, he's running the basket and he's bulking his size at 6'7" and really trying to get under your skin, and then coming up with, double-digit rebounds. So you saw what Gobert did against Doncic, and you saw what happened there. It's what Porzingis can handle, and will that really strain on the calf, or will he, find a way to make some easy adjustments for himself? So that's a big piece of the puzzle, Paul. I have to agree.
Here's a little something that's not an X's and O's thing at all. It's just like an observation. We've talked about it before too. Complaining to the referee, right?
Mhm.
So I'm watching the Celtics, and Tatum's always crying to the referee. Yeah. So I'm a Doncic fan. I don't really get to see a lot of Dallas games. I see games here and there. Now that I've been watching him, does this guy cry to the referee on every single play? Oh my God, it just gets like annoying. And then a lot of times the players will give it, we should look at this, and he's wrong. You know what I mean? It's a foul or whatever.
Yeah.
So that like crying to the referee, is that something that they did years ago? Because I don't remember it like we have it now.
No, I don't think as much. I mean, if it was really something that was, critical, they would get right in the ref's face. I know that, instead of just like running up and down the court, arms flaring up in the air, like, what are you doing? And stuff like that. So, it's just one of those things that every time a guy has the ball, they're always thinking they're getting fouled. And at the same time, you probably could call a foul on every play. It's so hard. Those guys have it tough. It's a tough situation for referees, which can unfortunately cost the game, or keep teams in a game, or can have runaways in a game. Depends on which way it's going.
A lot of
you
times,
just gotta bear with it.
yeah, at the end of the game, they have the replay and all that, and
Yeah.
you're looking at the replay, and it seems like it takes a long time for them to come up with the answer, and sometimes that could be a little annoying. And I know they reduced the amount of timeouts. I still think they have too many timeouts at the end of the game there. I think, what is it now? 7 timeouts or something like that. I know
you got to have your TV timeouts, and then you have your regular ones. And then if you have a challenge, well, there's more going on there. So, play the game, go out there, and show what it used to be like, and just go at it. I mean, that's what people want to see, I think, more than anything else, instead of this whining and crying stuff. So just go play the game.
All right, let's go to Spear on Cape Cod. Good evening.
Hello, Paul.
How are you?
I am fine. Yourself?
Good. What's going to happen with the Celtics?
I think it's all going to be contingent on how Porzingis plays.
Wow.
I believe he's going to be the key.
Ooh.
Right. That's interesting, because a lot of people said that at the beginning of the playoffs. They haven't needed him up till now, but the question is, how healthy is he? How's he going to be able to stand up to the rigor of a series in the NBA Finals?
They got to roll him out. He went all year. I mean, I think, didn't they beat Dallas by 26 points last time when Porzingis was in there?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, they're a terrific team, and I think that they can squeeze by, but they still don't have a closer.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a closer. And, I mean, look, James was never a closer. Bird was a closer. Jordan was a closer. Tatum is terrific. Tatum's the best athlete that Boston has. He is reliable. He's out there every night, night after night. And he's gotten a lot of bad raps. But let me tell you, that first game against Cleveland, when he took that cheap shot with the minute left and he came down on his lumbar spine with no support with his hands or anything, do you know how many times players pop a lumbar disc doing that? He jumped right up, stinging like a bastard, ran away, and who came to his defense? JB.
Yeah, JB. I like his grit. I like JB's grit. You know what I mean? I don't think he likes it when the other player kind of rubs it in their face. Like, he really took a dislike to the way Draymond Green was playing. I mean, they may be friendly now, but not in the finals. I mean, he fell on top of him, and Brown was like ready to start a fight with him. I don't think we see that from Tatum.
Well, Tatum has been out there night at he is tough. People say he's soft. He's not. He just doesn't have the killer instinct. He runs in when time's expiring, and next thing you know, he's pounding the ball in, and he's got 2-3 guys on him, and he's taking a fall away jumper.
Exactly.
there's a lot of times now, I think that they're designing plays over to Porzingis, right, on his soft, sweet spot, or to Brown. I believe, I forget what game it was, but it might have been the Pacers. Brown hit a mid-range jumper with 6 seconds left, and to put him up by 1. And he gave his pump, and what happens? Pacers come in and hit a 2, and they lose by a point.
Right.
But they went to Brown, is what I'm getting at. So, I mean, Tatum's game has evolved. He's floating, he's rebounding, he's assists, and he's still driving to the basket and picking up fouls.
All right. So, having said all that, you lean Celtics?
Oh, I think the Celtics, I want to say the Celtics in 5.
Ooh. Wow.
If Porzingis is up and running, Paul,
Yeah.
I would say the Celtics in 5.
And if he's not?
If he's not, they'll probably squeak by in 7.
Ooh. All right. All right, Spear. We'll enjoy the game tonight. Enjoy the game.
All right, Paul. Listen, you have a nice day now.
Yeah. Thank you very much. All right. Spear from Cape Cod has the Celtics in 5. How about that?
Well, he answered my question because I was going to go at him and say, Spear, I'm going to give you a scenario. If Porzingis plays fully and never plays the regular games, how will they do? He says they'll win in 5. But if Porzingis plays maybe 1 game and all of a sudden he's hurt and he can't go, what would it be? They're going to squeak it in 7, Paul. So I was going to give him those 2 scenarios, but he came right out and said what he thought. I like it. But at the same time, I'm not going to rely just specifically on Porzingis because I think Horford has done okay for himself in that situation, and then throw a couple of the big guys off the bench.
All right.
But yes, I think they're a different team when Porzingis is in the game.
Okay, let's go to Ben in Dartmouth. Good evening. Okay, looks like we lost him.
Oh, we lost Ben?
Give us a call again, 774-218-3393. We have a few minutes left, so if you want to get in, we get your prediction. That's a lot of fun. It's going to be a great night of basketball. How about this break? They've been saying you should have moved it up a little bit. It does feel like it's taking a long time to get here, but Ben has come back. Good evening, Ben.
Good evening, Paul. How are you guys doing today?
Hey,
Good.
Ben.
I want to hear your prediction because I know you're a pretty knowledgeable sports guy, and I want to get your take.
It's going to be a completely hard series. I feel like Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, those 2 have been really on point this postseason. I mean, Kyrie's not a good defensive guy all regular season, but in the postseason, he's been really well. That's going to be a big testament for Boston. And along with that, Boston brings back Porzingis this series. And they have a pretty stacked team, too. But I don't think, the Celtics will beat them in like the previous games, like at 4 and 5. I think it's going to last at least 6 or 7 games. Personally, my thoughts is I think the Celtics win in 6. I feel like the Mavericks are such a young team and they're still rising. I think the Celtics are more experienced in the NBA Finals and whatnot. This time around, I feel the Celtics might have a better advantage. I mean, there's no Curry on the court shooting threes. I mean, you still got Luka Doncic, who's scary too. But to that extent, I'm picking the Celtics in 6.
All right, Ben, thank you very much for your thoughts. We appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good one.
Yeah, have a great night, Ben. Ben from Dartmouth. Okay, so we got another caller that thinks the Celtics are going to pull it off. How about that? We didn't talk about that before. There are more players on the Celtics that have been to the finals before. The Celtics have been to the finals a number of times, right?
Yep.
And, Luka's like, obviously that clutch guy and all that, but he's never been there before.
True.
So, and some of these other guys haven't been there before. And there's media crunch. And, some of the Celtics players were talking about how they had to adjust to that. So what about that? A lot of times that experience factor comes into play.
As well as coaching. That's where I think, but that's another one that comes into play. So
what about that? What do you think, Bazula? Is he going to?
Yeah, what he can do there, and I think he'll learn from last year and learn as he goes, and hopefully gets better and realizes in-game decisions, timeouts to make, changes in the rotation, whatever he needs. So I think the key that I'm going to look for, Paul, and I'm going to say this as we kind of finish up. If Luka does his normal 28 to 34 points a game. I get that. If Kyrie gets more than 20 per game and one other guy gets at least 20, I think Dallas is right where they want to be. They have to make sure that Kyrie gets over 20 points as long as Luka gets to his 34 and so forth. And one other player, don't know, Washington, Lively, whoever it is, someone also has to get there. If that happens, the Celtics could be in trouble.
I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever gone into a series thinking that it's so fascinating than this particular series. All the backstories, the Tatum and Brown thing, are they going to get over the hump? Do they have the depth to be able to take out Dallas? Dallas making that trade, coming out of nowhere with Doncic just going bananas in some of these series, that killer instinct and hitting the shots and then waving it in the face of the other bench, and all this all coming together all at once. I'm thinking, wow, this is just going to be so fascinating and so interesting. I got to tell you, basketball was never really my top major sport, but the last couple of years, this is going to be fun with a capital F.
Looking forward to it, Paul. I really am looking forward to this one. It should be a lot of fun. I got a funny feeling I'm going to have probably about 60 messages from you and Ryan during this first game. You know what? I could turn the phone off, go to sleep, wake up in the morning. I'll have 120. I'll get 60 from you two guys, and then I'll get another 60 from another group that I talk with. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but looking forward to it, as well as the NHL on Saturday.
I always know when you're a little irritated because then you start typing in capital letters. So if I say, hey, what's Tatum doing over there? And you come back, coaching, exclamation point,
Crickets.
or you go what's all the ISO ball? And you get the exclamation point. What are they doing?
Crickets.
So you and then the other one is when, Tatum has a great game and he's got these many rebounds, got this many assists. I always say, okay, you had a good night. I go to bed, right? I wake up the next morning and I got to think from there, crickets, 30, 10, and 8, So I love it. I look at the water. I know it's coming. It's going to be a lot of fun this year.
Yeah,
I agree with you. All right. Well, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Scotty's Pub of Fall River, Citywide Glass, Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton, Lakeville Athletic Club of Lakeville, and attorney John Seed for helping us out here on Santos on Sports. And is this going to be? I think this might be in play too. We'll have to see.
In one game or a lot of games?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see. I just, it's one of these things we have to make a prediction, so we made a prediction, but
right,
nothing is going to surprise me. You know what I mean? Like if Dallas wins, I'm not going to be shocked. I'm going to be like, okay, I can see what happened there. If the Celtics win, you know what I mean? I can't really be surprised. You know what I mean? So wherever way it goes, I don't think we're going to be surprised, but I think it is going to be fascinating for sure.
We'll see.
All right, Chris, thanks very much. Great show as usual. Paul Santos for Chris Santos, Santos on Sports. We'll talk to you real soon.